Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 12 of That Was a Hoot, a Rocko Modern Life Alt-She Maxi
Oh my
recap
gosh.
series.
We're back, baby.
We're back with another one.
That's right.
Season 2, episode 5, segment 1, Boob Tubed.
Do you ever have you ever in a real reality called
Said Boob Tube.
Boob Tube? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna watch the Boob Tube.
Just in jest, not like I'm being serious about it. Like I'm just like, I'm gonna sit down and watch the Boob Tube.
What's the origin of Boob Tube?
No idea.
Okay. This episode opens on a place called the Video Boys, not spelt with a Z, but it should have been. Missed opportunity. Where Heifer, Rocko, and Filbert are. This is like a Best Buy, or what was that store that was like in front of the mall that had like a lightning bolt, and it's like a red circle with a lightning bolt. It's like a Ray Center.
Rayvac?
You remember what I'm talking about?
No.
It's where the Goodwill is now in Carbondale. Rayo
Office Max? No. It's something Max though.
Rayo Max?
I don't remember.
I don't think it was Max.
I'm pretty sure it's Max.
I think it was a Ray something.
No.
Ray was in the
Ray Max? Baymax?
Ray Max, Baymax. But anyways, it's an electronics store. And Heifer is amazed at everything. You don't remember the store really? It had like
No, I remember the store.
TVs.
Yes, it was a TV place, but I can't remember the name of it. I almost believe it has the name Max in it.
not Ray.
No, not Ray.
Rayovac is the name of the batteries
It's
from
the name
Walmart.
of batteries. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think it's something Max though. I don't remember what it is though.
What if it's Max something?
Max Repo?
That's where I think that's where my dad got the first DVD player that we had. Was there. Sony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, Heifer is amazed at everything. Rocco's shopping for a TV, and he wants to buy something called the Mr. Sensible TV. But when they go through it's like a little just kiosk. It's self-shopping before self-shopping existed. And yes, Justin.
I raised my hand for you guys.
Thank you.
The origin of Boob Tube is that it was first recorded back in the dates, somewhere in between 1965 and 1970. It was a rhyming coinage just for television in general.
Oh, just Boob Tube because it rhymed.
From the notion that television programming is foolish.
Oh, like a boob.
Inducing foolishness, or is watched by foolish people.
Like a booby.
Like a boob.
Which is so weird because a boob is not dumb at all whatsoever.
Words nearby Boob Tube would be boobalooba, boob job, boobsy boobs, boob boob, boob book.
When you go to watch TV, is it I'm gonna go get a boob job? Is just what we
No,
watch TV?
this is just other terms that are like Boob Tube that were closely related that other people would have searched for on that website.
Okay.
So there was I thought it was funny that it was like Boobalooba was next to it.
Boobalooba.
So I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that.
So in the little kiosk though, when Rocko chooses Mr. Sensible, they get the Hibachi big screen instead, and he tries to cancel it, and every time that it cancels it, it adds another piece to it, and it just gets to be this massive TV with sound system and game system and all this stuff. All the systems are there.
Since the purchase is already charged to Rocco's card at that point in time, he can't stop. And they take the system home. When Heifer turns it on, it blows them in the back of the room, and Heifer has to crawl to the remote to turn it off. Then he says, "That was a hoot."
I'm assuming that they're implying that
it's like the
snow on the TV, like the is actual snow, like it's a blizzard.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they're implying there.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
And then like the blowing back thing, the way that was is like what's the old TV commercial with the guy sitting in the chair?
I don't know.
And the music's playing the bum da da, and it's like blowing him away. I can't think of what the name of the I think it's something Max.
Then Rocko and Filbert they're playing on the video game system. They play clown boxing video game, and we find out that Filbert is a sore winner. He's like, in your face. And then a truck arrives, and Filbert goes, "Oh, that must be Heifer with the videos." And we see a truck unloading a pile of VHS tapes, and Heifer is at the helm.
Some of the movies that are there were Cup Drinker, My Favorite Steer, Of Cows, Fight Me, The Night We Met, part 1, 2, and 4,
I didn't see 3.
and Uncle Fred.
Heifer says, "You do get all the list ones.
I do.
You're
Yeah,
just a
I'm just
listy
a
boy."
list guy.
Carries over into this episode also.
Mhm.
Heifer says that they have 1001 of your favorite videos to start, and they start with Night of the Shaved Kittens. They work their way through that, and then a telenovela of some sort. You hear just like Spanish speaking and
Mhm.
everything, and then there's a 3D police chase action
Like, the
movie.
whole couch and them
Everything's moving.
move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like they're doing that 4D or whatever it's called.
Mhm.
And then they have a comedy, and the comedy's so funny that Filbert spits milk out of his nose laughing.
And after that, Rocco is ready to call it a night, but Heifer wants to keep going while flipping through the channels. We even hear that Rocco's Modern Life theme song, indicating once again that this show does exist somehow in this world.
It's some
I
weird.
wonder if that's like, what was did we hear a theme song for when the Fatheads when Ralph did the version of Rocco on there? Was it the
Um,
same theme song as the Fatheads
I don't
theme
remember
song? It
there
was just a
being.
character, or did he have his own kind of
I don't think he
music?
had his own music or anything.
Okay.
Like when Rolo showed up.
Yeah, yeah. Rolo. All day, mate. The most stereotypical Australian
It's
accent you could possibly ever get.
awesome. Yes. So Rocco and Filbert doze off, and Heifer sits really close to the TV because nobody's telling him he can't. So why not? And his eyes get stuck on the TV and won't let go.
And the next morning, Rocco and Filbert wake up to Heifer sitting close to the TV, and he's just rattling nonsense and stuck in a trance. Filbert lifts one of Heifer's eyes to find that his head is empty now, and the TV has taken Heifer's brain.
Oh no. Filbert Helbert Filbert's
Hilbert.
Hilbert Filbert says they'll have to go into the TV to get it back. And all of a sudden the TV has a way of just opening up like a garage door.
Mhm.
And they head into the tundra, which is the
The
snow.
Snow Channel.
And with Spunky pulling them in the sled like a snow dog.
So while they're looking for Heifer's brain, Heifer gets naked and then proceeds to leave the house.
Doesn't he like he's trying to get out of the door and he just like bangs his head up against the door to try to open it?
Yeah, well, he ends up going through the door and it leaves the silhouette of the top of his
Yes.
head because he just plows through it.
In the TV, they find an igloo marked TV Central. Inside is an 8-legged bug. I guess you'd call that a spider.
Mhm.
Doing the programming. Rocco tells him that they are there to get Heifer's brain, which the bug doesn't seem very surprised. He's like, "Yeah, you're here to get your friend's brain." The bug tells them to help themselves to finding it in a big pile of brains, and he says that he wishes people would stop sitting so close to the TV.
So while they're searching for the brain, Heifer is jumping off of Rocco's roof and starts to fly.
He's successful in it.
Mhm.
Spunky spots a log shaped brain, which they decide is definitely Heifer's,
Mhm.
and they return to the real world to give it to Heifer, and Heifer falls through the roof, clucking like a chicken.
His brain reminds me of like if it was like a really tall can of like corned beef hash or something like that. You know, I'm talking like it's
Yeah.
the perfectly cylindrical meat
Yes.
that's just there. When we see the TV on top of the trash can outside, indicating that they threw it away, and Heifer is being nursed back to normal inside. He has a sunburn on his butt from, I guess, just being outside naked for so long. So he's sitting on a giant ice cube.
And Rocco and Heifer are watching Filbert with a cutout
Mhm.
box on his head, acting out a show, which is now their new entertainment because Rocco says it's safer than a TV.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what purchase do you regret getting the most? Do you ever like go, is it that like $20
The
suit?
Halo, the accident thing. Uh, no, I've made some really dumb purchases with shit off of Amazon, hoping that it would be like a really good thing to get.
Yeah.
But then, it just turns out to not be so great. I'm trying to think of a couple of them. Like I had this one that was like a cell phone mount for a car
Okay.
that's supposed to screw on and stuff like that, and you get it into the vents and screws into place. And it just seemed like it was broken from the get-go,
Ah.
basically. Not like it was like falling apart completely, but it would not stay like tight for anything. It just wanted to keep like falling off, and it was just garbage that I basically spent $15 on. So
Ah.
I've had a few purchases that are off of like Amazon or any other kind of online site that's happened like that before.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I regret buying a car because now I'm expected to go to work. No,
Oh,
that's not. No, I feel like most of the things I've regretted to purchase are usually digital. Like it's things like I didn't really need that.
yeah.
Like the physical stuff I have, I enjoy and I think is pretty cool for the most part. But like when I buy, I don't know, a video game that I'm never gonna play in my entire life, but it's on sale, it's $20 off or whatever, and I buy it and I'm like, why? Why did I do that? Why do I need
I
it?
try to do that sometimes with like microtransactions. You know, I'll say like I feel like I'll regret this purchase or something like that,
Right.
but at that point in time, it's done something that's brought me like a little bit of joy, a little
Absolutely.
bit of fun, or something like that. Plus, if the game is free and I'm putting $5 into it
Hmm.
after I've spent 30, 40 hours on the thing in the first place, total over the course of months,
Yes.
then what is $5 at
I'm just
that point to me?
paying
And just
for a little
doing,
server space.
yeah, just a little bit of extra help there.
That's right.
Episode 5, segment 2 is called Commuted Sentence.
We were wrong.
What?
They do have a little bit of fun with their names.
Oh.
We get one in here, and it caught me, and it's been on there for a while, but it just finally clicked for me.
Hmm.
Is that in the credits for this episode, we get the direction and storyboard by Jeff Swampy Marsh, and
Is it Marsh or March?
it's Marsh. I had a typo in there.
Okay.
And yeah, so the Swampy is his little nickname, I guess, for being the last name Marsh on there. And I was like, look at them. They are a little funny. They're
Sometimes.
not a big funny, but I wish that I would remember, and I don't care enough to go back to the episode, but the episode, the Fatheads
Yeah.
episode, in the storyboard room,
Hmm.
the guy that was talking about Rocco and Heifer walk into the room and everything had a name on his hat, and I don't remember what it was, but was it Swampy?
It could have
And
been.
would that have
Like
been
he
Jeff
was a
Marsh?
director in their world.
Yeah, I
That'd be
don't
kind of
know.
cool. So we open up with Ferb McGiggins giving the traffic report, and there's a traffic jam on the highway. The news anchor asks who is driving, and then Ferb crashes the helicopter, which prolongs the traffic even more.
Dang. Rocco is in that traffic, and he says he's late for work. The traffic delay is because of one of the reflective things that came off the road in the middle of the lanes.
Yeah.
And there are four workers standing around, and one of them's asking, "Anyone got any glue?"
Rocco finally gets a kind of a lot of comics, and the parking spot he was going to get is taken by his boss, Mr. Smitty, who just lives next door. He tells him to park down in the high crime area. Rocco does so, and as soon as he walks away, his car gets stripped off,
Dang it.
tires, everything.
Earthing. When Rocco clocks in, the clock says late, and Mr. Smitty lectures him on being late, and actually lectures him with a whiteboard and everything, a whole thing.
Time
And
equals money.
that's right.
Another day, Rocco goes to the park and gets a ticket for thinking about parking in a spot where there's a sign that says, "Don't even think about parking here." He's late again then.
And the next time he parks in an area by a sign that says "Do not park in the red." There's lots of signs that have rules on parking.
Yeah.
Which he doesn't park in the red area, but later on after he parks, Heifer walks by and spills ketchup that colors the curb red, and then Rocco's car gets towed.
It's not even just that. He spills the bottle of ketchup that he was pouring and it lands in one spot, but sandwich doesn't get any of the coverage. So then he smears his sandwich on the concrete and spreads it around in the ketchup, making a then perfectly the red line that then covers the entirety of where Rocco's car is parked, because it would have just been one tiny
One
like
little
glob
spot.
area.
Yeah. Rocco gets a call from his car at the impound lot. So the actual car calls him, and Rocco has to leave work to go there. And the cop says the other cars are calling him fancy fenders. Uh, he's a little he's not very masculine car.
He's a prag.
And
The other cars are making him sleep under their beds and making him his bitch.
it's going to cost $4,700 to get the car out, which Rocco doesn't have. So the car has to stay.
In order to get to work, Rocco now has to take public transportation. So the next day, he takes a really smelly taxi to work. The taxi driver rambles on and has signs in his car that say "shut up" and "no barfing." On the way, Rocco asks how far $2 will get him, and the driver backs up from where he's at, which is to about, Rocco says, with tip. And then the driver backs up even more. And he says, you pay quickly and get out. Rocco, whenever he gets out, is like 2 houses away from his house. He like looks back and sees his house like right there.
Then Rocco takes the bus instead. There he sits next to a sleeping guy who drools on him, and Rocco immediately pulls the little string and gets off the bus, and he's late for work again.
The next time he goes in the subway, but is trampled by a large group of what looks like to be probably Kambamo employees. I agree with that. They all just look like they're wearing the standard white
Right.
shirt with a button up with a tie and everything. The typical employee. He finally gets on, but the subway stopped due to police activities. And today's activity is arts and crafts.
Yeah.
A guy next to Rocco says that since he got laid off from post office, he's been feeling rather disgruntled lately. Everyone then moves away from that guy, and he starts swinging around the rails and saying that, "Not, no, I got me some. Now I got me some swanging room." And Rocco's late again.
Rocco next tries riding his bike to get there. Of course, Earl chases him down the stairs, past the comic book shop, and into the water. He's late again, and Mr. Smitty says if Rocco is late again, he will be fired.
Trying to brainstorm with Heifer, Rocco says something about being shot out of a cannon being safer than public transportation. And Heifer thinks that that's just a great idea. They trial it out, and he shoots Rocco into a museum of sharp and pointy things on his first try. He then runs to the comic book shop, but is late and gets fired.
While sulking about losing his job, the police officer issuing parking tickets in the area says she has a job for Rocco. It's towing cars away, and he gets to actually tow Mr. Smitty's car away. He earns enough money to get his car out, though, and they offer for him to keep working. They're like, you can keep going. You don't have to stop. And he turns them down.
The roads are clear, and Ferb is back in the sky, but everyone else's cars were impounded by Rocco.
And I got 2 questions for you.
Give me him.
1, why would Rocco keep or quit a job that pays good and they actually want him to be there?
Yeah, he actually found like a niche of something that he's good at,
And
too.
he seemed like he enjoyed it. Like,
yeah, thoroughly, especially getting his like old boss's stuff. I mean, but he was doing what he was supposed to. He was parked in
Yeah.
the legal zone. I don't know. He lives a simple, humble life, and as such, he is not, wanting to give himself anything that would allow him to have more money, maybe, or something.
he
And
wants to run around with his friends. He
yeah,
doesn't
that's
want to be
important
tied
to him,
down
I
with a
guess.
9 to
That's
5er.
the only thing I can think of, other than I don't know.
Perhaps. What all forms of public transportation have you been on? What are your thoughts on it? Do you feel like it's super dangerous public transportation, or are you pro public transportation?
I would say
Let's get into the politics.
I would say prior to the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, public transportation was totally fine. Now it's not entirely safe because you can't guarantee that everybody that's on a bus is going to wear a mask or anything like that to be safe. I mean, you're sitting next to what would probably be, I would assume, total strangers if the bus is full or something of that effect.
Let's take it out of that context, like just in normal world.
Let's see. I've been on buses before, obviously. I'm not just like, I mean, on like a Greyhound as well.
You've been on a Greyhound?
Yep.
I've never been on a Greyhound. Did you take that to go down to Disney in the band?
Yeah. Yeah, we had 3 Greyhounds that we took for all the people.
Cool.
So we did that. I was on a Greyhound for that. I've never been on a train still.
Me neither.
Or a plane. I've never got to fly yet.
Plane's fun time, but I've never been on a train. I want to like just take it up to Chicago or something.
Yeah, even if it's just an Amtrak and it's just the ride in general, because I don't think the Amtrak goes clear to Chicago. I think it goes
Chicago to New Orleans.
Oh, it does? Okay. I didn't know which one
every
it was.
day.
Because I thought that once you were like in Chicago to get around for transportation, you'd have to take the L, right? Like the local train.
Well, I mean, you go to the train station in Chicago, and then you would go to whatever. I don't know what their public transportations in Chicago is like.
Taxis, Ubers, stuff like that. I've been in those.
Uber's weird now. Like there's a whole generation of people that probably won't do taxi.
Yeah.
Because they're just going to be riding in somebody else's car.
Which is I don't know. I don't know if I should say it would say it's a shame.
I don't. I
It's essentially the same, just not more personal. It's more,
Yeah, it's different.
I've been in a regular standard taxi cab, like
Yeah,
stereotypical generic yellow taxi cab at the same time whenever we were both down in Salem, or in Boston rather. When we were driving around, we took an Uber and then we ended up having to take a taxi because there was one that was relatively close. The taxi ended up being substantially more expensive than an Uber.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
Which, at that point in time, I hadn't had a taxi ride at that point in time, so I didn't really know what else to expect. But I guess I've
Absolutely.
not been on a ton of public transportation. The bus is fine though. I mean, really
I love the
gets
bus.
you where you need to go. It's relatively cheap,
Hmm.
very cost efficient,
Yeah.
especially if you're like, for me, going from um, if I was able to take the bus to work, for example, because they have different public transportation lines that go from DuQuoin to Continental
Yeah.
Tire. They have like packages, deals that they give you that you could take that are actually relatively cost efficient. The
And then
only
you don't have to worry
downside,
about driving.
the only downside to it is that you end up getting home like way later than
Oh, I see.
normal because you have to wait for other drop offs and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
So like I would get there at the place and they would pick me up, 2 hours before I would need to be at work.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't get home until probably 2 hours after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't really want to.
Think of all the TV you can watch.
It would be a lot of TV and that would be kind of cool. But at the same time, I would just be like, I could get home, in like 45 minutes if I just take my car. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, I've done subways. Done the things you're talking about. We've
Eat
done
Fresh.
Subway Eat Fresh. I've done
I've seen Subways, but I've never actually been on one like
tro-
underground in the car.
trolley cars like in San Francisco
Mm-hmm.
and in like New
Rice-A-Roni.
Orleans. Like those kind. I've done what's the other I there's another kind of thing that I'm thinking of that is a transportation thing.
Oh, it is like a boat, like a ferry.
I've
Been
done a
on
ferry.
ferries before.
Yeah,
I guess technically that's a form of
absolutely it is.
transportation.
Yeah.
One where you actually drive your car up on there and go across the river.
Didn't do that. They
Hmm.
don't those kinds of ferries. It's much smaller ferry when you go to like Statue of Liberty, which is where
Sure. I've
I,
not been to the Statue of Liberty
it's
to ride that ferry.
it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. But yeah, I love public transportation. I love the city and would absolutely take advantage of public transportation.
I think if I
Uh,
lived in the city, I would try to do like just bike or electric bike for the most
oh yeah.
part. I think that would be the way that I would probably prefer to go. That or like public transportation if need be to
There's
get
a
the ins and outs.
there's a weird part of me that loves like the dirtiness of a subway.
Yeah.
Like the underground kind
You
of
love
tunnel
you love
seating,
touching
like
dirty shit.
I mean, you don't have to touch a lot of it. Like you just, I mean, you got like you pay for your card, you put money on it, and then you
Hmm.
swipe it when you go through the little turnabouts, and then you're just kind of on your own.
I bet they have like hand sanitizer things for whenever you get off of them
Oh
now. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I
Oh
bet
yeah.
they got those outside the stations.
Yeah. But everybody probably carries their own little personal hand sanies,
Mm-hmm.
sandy wipes.
Hand saner.
That's right. We got
Oh,
a
wait,
special.
do you hear that? Do you hear that?
Ding 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 ding
Oh,
ding ding.
it's sleigh bells. I think Santa's coming to town, Shad. It's time for season 2, episode 6, one segment.
That's right.
We only got one segment this episode because it's an extra long special. Rocko's Modern Christmas.
What?
So we open with the credits and Rocko in a bodysuit on a sleigh, wishing it would snow for Christmas. He said it looks like it's trying to push. It's trying one scrawny cloud and it's trying to push out some snow out. Pushes out one flake that then hits Rocko in the eye. It knocks Rocko out and into the opening theme song title card sequence for Rocko's Modern Christmas. Can't squeeze cheer from a cheese log.
Which I don't understand.
Yeah.
The opening sequence shows Spunky pulling Rocko on a sled as Rocko delivers presents to the big heads and then to Heifer and Filbert as they ice skate.
Rocko comes back into his yard and they are getting new neighbors. Rats are moving in and a bunch of Christmas decorations. It gives Rocko the idea to get some decorations and invite Filbert and Heifer over for a Christmas get together.
It starts to rain, and we see Mr. Bighead is very happy about how nasty the weather is. He seems to be quite a Grinch himself. Go figure. And
humbug.
yes, and Bev is mailing out Christmas cards on Christmas Eve because that's when it is. So it seems like either A, the mail moves miraculously quick in O Town, which we see later
We'll
on.
say, like, at this point in time, we're talking this is 93 at this point.
Yeah, I think so. 93, 94,
So
somewhere around there.
at this point in time, our snail mail system is probably the most efficient thing. I would assume that like FedEx and UPS are there for like
Yeah.
ground packages and
Oh
things
yeah.
like that. But I would say that knowing that snail mail and like email really wasn't a thing or anything
Yeah.
yet. So like maybe this is like the most efficient time in the United States Postal Service's time.
But we're still not doing same day delivery.
Maybe. Maybe they were. Maybe they had a special in O-Town.
That's what I was to say. Either
Stuff
the
in
mail
O-Town
is
seems like it runs pretty efficient.
much different in O Town, or Bev's just planning on these
I mean,
Christmas cards being
we
like,
got a place like Conglommo here that's making gum that can turn people into beehive heads.
what?
You know what I mean? Whenever the boss chews the packs of gum and his head turns into a beehive and it
Oh
stings
yeah,
himself.
that's right.
I mean, we got stuff like that going on. I would assume that the mail is probably running okay, or it just is shit like everywhere else. They'll probably get to everybody in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Rocko calls calls to invite Heifer, but when Heifer asks his mom about going to Rocco's, Heifer says the rest of them just invite themselves to Rocko as well. Heifer's mom calls Rocko Rockwell
I like that.
as well.
When Rocco calls Filbert, Filbert is on the other line with someone that he's calling pet names. He's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, Schnookums and Sugar Buns, whatever." He answers the phone. Yeah, what happened? And I think that that's just how Filbert answers the phone. He didn't know it was Rocco. He just
Uh-huh.
answers the phone. Yeah, what happened?
But he like preemptively automatically assumes something bad has happened. Like he's just that outlook on
Yes,
life.
he's just so
It's
negative.
got to be
Nancy.
shit. So what happened?
Yeah, what happened? After he gets the invite, he switches back to the other person, and we find out that it's Dr. Hutchinson.
Yay!
They are now together. He invites her to Rocco's also, and he asks her to pick him up. Will you pick me up and take me there? And then we see her then make a phone call to Gordon the Foot, who
Mhm.
then makes a phone call to Miss Hippo, who makes a phone call to Wild Boar, and then really, really big man right afterwards.
It's so weird that Gordon the Foot actually has a name and is a sentient foot.
Do we remember Gladys? Is that Miss Hippo?
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
real name.
I couldn't remember.
Gladys Hippo.
Yes.
Rocco is afraid that someone's feelings will get hurt if he doesn't try to invite everyone. So he ends up mailing out invitations for a party again. That will be just a day later. So
Not
like,
even a day, later that day.
later that day.
Same day.
So maybe it is
Same day
just a
service.
super efficient mail. You know, pneumatic tubes that just go directly to people's houses.
Meanwhile, we see our scrawny little Cloud is now drinking prune juice, hoping that he will be able to produce snow. I guess he's constipated.
Yeah, he has to be. Across the street, Rocco's new neighbor has the house decorated and appears to be a skittish elf that lives there.
So Rocco and Spunky go to the mall where Filbert and Heifer are selling Christmas trees, kind of. Rocco buys a Christmas tree from them. The tree is excited like a new puppy that's getting adopted, but then dies as Heifer cuts it down.
The X's in the eyes and
Yes.
everything. In the mall, Fruitcake Man is sitting with kids instead of Santa. Rocco goes into a store and we see that the elf has followed him there. The elf goes into a shoe store and is bullied by a group of alligator salesmen. Rocco then sees this and stands up to them and has the best comeback line whenever he beats them up. He picks up a shoe and asks if they have a size 11 and a half in plaid and then tosses the shoe for them to go get it.
How off-putting would that be if like you were somewhere and you've got somebody that's like really in your grill and they're like, "Man, I'm gonna beat you up," and then you look up and you go, "Where'd you get that jacket? It's awesome. I love the trim on it."
Yeah.
Like, it would just be so weird, and I love that thought that like they're getting ready to
Mhm.
knock him out,
And he wants to know about
and
the
he's
shoes.
like his way of just kind of deflating the
Mhm.
situation is like, "Do you have a size 11 and a half in plaid?"
He also has really big feet, not big feet, but I mean, I wear an 11 and a half
Yeah.
to 12,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's average.
but for a wallaby is what I'm getting.
He's got them goofy like clown shoes almost, so that makes
Yeah.
sense for his size. So he rescues the elf and then gets him back home. Rocco knocks on the elf's door and it's answered by an older elf who invites him in. Not right away, but he eventually invites him in. We see that there are a lot of elves and they're all making toys. He sits and has tea with the elder elf, who isn't as excited about Christmas as Rocco is. He introduced Rocco to all the elves, which have names of tools, except for one named Mango.
Hmm. The old elf mentions Mitch, who is a three-legged elf and the only elf that could make it snow. They lost him in a blizzard, unfortunately. Rocco invites the elves to his Christmas party.
Across the street, Ed is pissed that there are elves living in the neighborhood.
Racist.
I don't know what's up with them.
Sizist.
Ed tells Filbert that the elves are going to be at the party and that they carry festering foot fungi. Filbert gets nauseous, and Ed is going to sabotage Rocco's whole party.
Filbert cancels going to the party. He calls Dr. Hutchinson, and everyone decides not to go. By the time the elves hear about it, word on the street is that a criminal, diseased trolls are going to be coming to the party. So now nobody is going to the party anymore.
So Rocco, unknowing that no one is coming, has the whole house set up and decorated, and no one shows up. Rocco wonders if the invitations just didn't get to the people, even though he called people. Like he knows that he
Hmm.
reached out to
Yeah.
people individually, personally. They should at least be there. Heifer is still trying to sell one last quote unquote tree at the mall.
Rocco has said that he won't ever find Christmas cheer and that it hasn't snowed. He calls Australia for Mr. and Mrs. after staring at a family picture. And so, are his parents alive?
Did we not know that his parents were dead?
I thought that we had established that his parents are dead.
I thought so too.
Maybe they're just not caring about following through with any kind of continuity necessarily.
So
for
I
this.
did read that because I got a little I got a little down the rabbit hole on this, even though I know we're not completely through the season or through the show. But
Mhm.
I was like, I need to Wikipedia the Rocco and just, see a little bit of info because I need to know
About
about,
that character.
yeah, I need to know about his mom and dad. And nowhere in at least that wiki was there mention of Rocco's parents being dead.
Yeah.
But so I surely we didn't make it up.
No.
We'd have to go back to the tape and figure out which one it was, but there's some time where he addresses his parents being gone.
Was he going to call his siblings and their spouses?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like he's got because we see in that picture, there's a
Yeah.
little
There's other
kid.
people there.
Yeah, there's a small child in there in that picture along with Rocco,
Mhm.
and so maybe that sibling is married.
Either way, the circuits are busy and he can't get through.
So the doorbell rings and the little elf is there. Rocco reads The Night Before Christmas to the little elf and they fall asleep, or he falls asleep. The little elf gets the cloud of snow, the little one that's been the constipated cloud,
Hmm.
and he makes it snow. And so Rocco gets a white Christmas just at his house though, just in his yard.
And the next morning, everyone's lined up at the edge of Rocco's yard. Mitch the elf is back and tells them that their little brother was the only one with Christmas cheer all along with Rocco. So the next morning, everyone's lined up at the edge of Rocco's yard. Mitch the elf is back and tells them that their little brother was the only one with Christmas cheer along with Rocco. Everyone apologizes for missing and ruining the party. He invites them all in for a party still. Even says Happy Christmas.
So is that like a British
I think it's just a Euro thing.
a Euro thing?
Because I mean, like, Australia is still technically like part of that as well
Because
to a certain
they're
extent.
kind of they immigrated to
Yeah.
that or whatever.
I think they
That's I was
still,
wondering.
just like Canadians, still like they all like.
They're French.
Well, I meant like they follow suit with the Queen, like they spend the Queen's coin and stuff.
The Canadians do?
Yeah,
Are you sure?
it's printed on their money, like
Oh.
Elizabeth is.
Oh.
Yeah,
I've never been to Canada. I didn't know that.
me either. But I mean, I know it. I know it's there.
Oh.
That's something that they do.
I didn't know.
Yep.
So everyone is partying except for Ed, who's still grumpy. He's still a little Grinch. The little elf goes over there and gives him an invite where Rocco, it's the invite from Rocco. So
Hmm.
it got lost in the mail or something. And in the little invite, it's at Rocco's house, and he marks out house and puts house in there instead. Rocco does on there. I like that he did that. Because I too had problems spelling words like house.
Like who's?
Yeah, absolutely. And since Ed was actually invited, he's happy and he goes to the party.
So for some reason, the little elf hits Ed in the leg with a hammer, sending Ed through the yard, wrapping him around the lights, and he becomes a decoration in Rocco's living room. Kind of
So
like a centerpiece, if you
yeah,
will.
it's odd. So the phone rings and it's Rocco's mom and dad wishing Rocco a happy Christmas. Then it snows in the whole neighborhood since everyone now has the Christmas cheer.
We end with what seems to be a robot Santa with laser eyes. The elves were working on, and then everyone throwing their trees out in the road in the morning.
That's Christmas for you.
Yeah, if you have a real tree.
Question for you.
Yeah.
What is a cheese log and why did that have to do with anything?
I don't know. I think it just is that podcast day is a very dangerous day.
This has been an IFNZ production.